Hello, welcome back to the Waffle Press TV Hangouts. It's a special Jessica Jones themed episode because it's just Jessica Jones this week. That's it. It's all we're going to talk about. Spoilers everywhere. I'm your host, Diego Crespo. With me, I have my co-host, Emily Sophia from M. Sophia on YouTube and Twitter. Emily, how are you doing today?
Well, I'm pretty excited about the subject matter at hand, so I'm doing pretty good.
Yes, as am I. Again, up front, spoilers everywhere. This is a great show. Yeah, spoilers all over the place. So let's just dive right into it. Jessica Jones is about a Marvel superhero or attempted superhero who got essentially turned into one of the most tragic characters in modern television history because of a very nefarious villain played by David Tennant called the Purple Man. I don't think he's ever called that in Jessica Jones, actually, but
no, he only ever wears purple and has purple accents.
yeah, and yeah, he gets some like purple veins at some points or something like that, like in the last episode, I believe. But again, that's a spoiler, so don't know that. And what is not really a superhero story, and not in the same way that Daredevil is not a superhero story, but it's actually still a superhero story with some law, order, criminal elements in it. Jessica Jones is a story about a rape survivor, ultimately. A story about overcoming trauma and moving forward with your life. And I'll just say it, I think this is the best, or at least the most important thing live-action Marvel has ever done, and is on par with any of the great Marvel storytellings in any medium. And I think one of the best things on Netflix, with this and Master of None in the same year, I think Netflix is just dominating alone. I mean, there's lots of other great stuff that Netflix has done, but this show in particular really, I was pretty blown away. At least the first 10 episodes, I think, are near perfection. Mm-hmm. And then I do admit, I think there are some speed bumps towards the end, and then it pulls it all together by the last two episodes. So basically just episode 11, I think, is where my negative stuff's going to come in. But that'll be later. Emily, what did you think of Jessica Jones?
Yeah, I watched this show in about 3 sittings, one of which, I watched the entire last half of the season in one sitting, if that's any indication of how into it I was. But I wholeheartedly agree with you that this is one of the best things to happen to Marvel television, Netflix television, and probably television because, I mean, I have never seen, let me back it up. The storytelling in this season alone was just astronomical, like so visceral, so emotional, so on top of just every single fear and insecurity that I've ever had in life. So I was glued to the show like nobody's business, and I quite frankly felt paranoid when I was walking away from it, because you have a character like Kilgrave, who can essentially manifest himself and his desires as any person you know and love instantaneously with so much as a single word, like smile, for example. And like that to me is just absolutely mind-boggling. And I think that part of what made the season so incredible was that it wasn't just Jessica Jones versus Kilgrave. It's Jessica Jones trying to get Jessica Jones back. You know, I have never seen a character with so many internal struggles so perfectly manifested and externalized, like with everyone around her, and just kind of the ripple effect of Kilgrave's actions, the way that they've not only affected her, but have come to affect everyone she knows. Everyone in her sphere of influence becomes his sphere of influence. And it's just so scary to conceive a villain so consuming and yet so unassuming, in that he denies culpability for everything that he does because he doesn't do it. And it's so freaking awful. And that's what makes the story so incredibly good, is that like it's reprehensible and horrible, everything that Kilgrave has done. and yet he is shaded with just enough sympathetic qualities, and of course the charisma of David Tennant to really pull us into that character, and to even imagine what would this world be like if he and Jessica could work together instead of try to destroy each other. Or namely, Kilgrave tries to destroy Jessica, which in turn sends her on the path to destroying him, because there's nothing else that she can do. Yeah, I love it so much, and am still I was dreaming actually about the show for a couple nights after I watched it, and dreaming that I was essentially Jessica Jones. I had some pretty crazy, weird, like fan fictiony dreams, not in terms of like weird sexual stuff, but just like things that would probably never happen, but maybe could in the comics. Anyway, so the dream, or the show, really got into my head, into my dreams. And now the more I process it, the more I see that it is nearly perfect. Like you said, just a couple little pieces that could have been stronger and that maybe weren't necessary. But for a pilot season, this stuff is top notch. It was incredible.
Yeah, I'm like really grateful that I watched Veronica Mars this season, because this is very similar, and in the same way, the first seasons are pretty near perfect, you know?
Yeah.
Little speed bumps in both first seasons, but both shows handle trauma very well, and how it changes people, and how much of a struggle it is to overcome stuff like that. And when they finally do, it's a really great moment. You really feel satisfied with these characters overcoming these obstacles. I don't think it is perfect because of some stuff that happens in episode 11. Again, all spoilers. It mostly relates to Officer Simpson.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah. At first, I liked that this guy became part of the crew, and he felt like he was being used just enough. And obviously, this mystery stuff with the IGA, I think it was called, or
IGH, IGF,
IGH. Yeah, I think IGF, because there's a theory that I'll get to later about that. That stuff's clearly going to carry over to the next season. So I feel like Marvel gets some like slack for some of their stuff in movies, like, oh, this is just setting up for the next movie. I will like 90% of the time go up to bat for them and say like, no, it works in this story because of this. Yeah. I will say that all the male characters in this show, the antagonistic ones, they're all used to examine different types of abusers, and Simpson is ultimately another version of an abuser, totally different from Kilgrave, totally, a complete different monster. But because he's, I guess if you had to relate to someone, Kilgrave is just a straight up monster who doesn't understand he's a monster. He doesn't know right from wrong. He just happens to be wrong all the time. Simpson tries to do good, but is not that great of a guy, I guess. And I like that aspect of it, but I think it ties into something else. All Marvel Netflix shows I think a problem is going to be having with them is that they're all like an episode too long. I think Daredevil could be compacted into like 10 episodes and be sufficient. I think Jessica Jones needed 12 instead of 13, because that stuff, the Simpsons stuff, I don't know. It didn't really work for me. It felt like it was just kind of filling time. Though it is cool to see Trish kick ass. Yeah. I really like that character a lot. On that note, before we get back too much of the negatives, because I want to praise the show continuously for everything it does right. Let's just talk about some supporting characters then. What did you think of the supporting characters?
I really liked what the show did with them, especially with Trish. I think that her character was extremely strong and was just such a great companion to Jessica. The fact that she at least has one other person in the world who gets her, and they get each other, and they work together. And I love that camaraderie, because we see a lot of women pitted against each other in very atrocious and scary ways in the show, namely with Hogarth and Hope and her ex. And, so we see all of these horrible, devastating things. We see the abuse that Trish's mother put her through, but then we see how Jessica and Trish were able to bond in that, but not wallow in it. Like they've both come through really, really devastating, hard things, and they are so enduring and just love each other through it. And they're both extremely strong in their own ways. And I think that like their relationship was really culminated well in the final episode within just those last 10 minutes where Kilgrave gets control of Trish and tries to use her to get to Jessica. It's such a fascinating exchange. I want to rewatch that scene over and over because I keep mulling it around in my mind. But I think it was so great that when Kilgrave was like, finally thinking that he had Jessica and was like, tell me you love me, she looks at Trish and says, I love you, and then snaps his neck. It was like, feels good. But so Trish I think was great. And Simpson was an interesting character and had a lot of problems, and I was kind of frustrated when the latter episodes started dedicating more time to what was going on with him, because I'm like, but wait, where's Kilgrave? What's going on? Like, can just go away, stop being so angry all the time, like stop taking drugs. But yeah, again, I think that all the characters kind of reflected the menace of Kilgrave too, but then became their own entities and their own people over time. Like, and Malcolm's story was really cool as well, how he was a completely different person by the end of the season, overcoming his own addictions, the ones that Kilgrave fed into, and Jessica was able to kind of help him get a wake-up call, and so he was able to lead this little Kilgrave survivor group. And even though some of the things that those people survive really pale in comparison to some of the bigger stuff that's going on, and it feels kind of funny after a while, it's still something that Malcolm gets to do to have meaning in his life and to help others, so that stuff is no less or no more trivial just because Jessica's problems are so much more immense. And then, of course, there's a matter of Luke Cage, who was woven into the show in a really interesting way, differently than I thought his character was going to be introduced, because he was actually pretty absent for the bulk of the season. He was there at the beginning and then kind of back around in the end. But I think that they did a pretty decent job of trying not to get too far into his story and to show how he connects to Jessica's. And his character was there to serve her story more than to serve his own. So, yeah, as a whole, I really like what they did, and I enjoyed most of the characters. Simpson was kind of meh at times, especially as he began to detract from some of the central stuff I was most interested in, but by and large, I pretty much liked what went on with everybody else. So, what did you think?
Yeah, I really like the character of Luke Cage. I like the sort of street level Marvel heroes a lot, and Luke Cage characters like him remind me of. I put it like this on Twitter: like, he's the type of character who would be able to sit down and have a drink with Rocky Balboa, because he's a good guy who happens to have unbreakable skin and super strength, like
there you go.
But he's not we see him from the outside, he's not really a superhero here. And I really like how he was used here, because you're right, it didn't go into the Luke Cage show with Jessica Jones. Like, I don't think there's a situation where that happened at all. His story was only, or what we saw of his story this season was only what was important to Jessica Jones' story. We get like hints of what's going to happen, but hints are fine. Hints are what I like, when it's not their story. I like to, there you go. That's what should have happened with Simpson. Yeah. They should have had hints, not just flat out like, this is going to carry over into the next season.
Yeah, it was too heavy-handed, I think. Because I could see why they're trying to set that up, but they took away from time that we could have spent with Kilgrave, who is now gone, So it's like, but anyway, continue.
Yeah, and Kilgrave is the best Marvel villain. Ultron's my boy. He's not scary, not like this. And also because Kilgrave is the manifestation of male entitlement. And if you've ever been online, you've heard of groups that have G in their name. And boy, that was similar. Yeah, so that character is like utterly terrifying. Like even from the first couple episodes, we don't really see him. You just sort of hear he's one of the villains at first, where you hear about how bad he is, and then he shows up, and his first big moment is having an office full of police officers point guns at each other, and then have them laugh it off afterwards. That's a power play. Like that's legitimately scary stuff. I mean, he can be kind of funny too, you know. And then he has moments. I think it's episode 8 where we really start to come to understand Kilgrave.
Yeah,
you're not full on sympathize, but it's like, oh, this is where he's coming from. Oh, but he's still like a monster. This doesn't mean it's okay to like just be one of the most despicable human beings brought to life ever. But there's a moment where I just laugh a lot whenever I think about it. When he's telling Jessica, like, do you know how hard it is being me? Like, I have to choose my words so meticulously. I once told a man to go screw himself. Can you even imagine? Like, it's hilarious.
That was good.
But it's like, oh God, I want to kill you, but that was funny. Damn, that was really funny. Yeah, just stuff like that. That makes that character so memorable, and I think it's going to be the first or second season Blues where they're not going to have as good of a villain. Maybe down the line they'll have one equal to, or at least in the general vicinity of as good as. But a lot of shows have this problem, I find. Veronica Mars, the season villains paled in comparison to the first one because there's like a lack of personal attachment there.
Yeah.
Though season 2 of Veronica Mars actually ended up saving that. The Flash season 2, terrifying villain. There's no personal connection there, so there's not as much of an emotional weight to it. It's just that he's a very scary villain, and the Flash is doing good with that. I think Arrow's never going to have as good a villain as their season 2. Daredevil, I think they could still do, because Kingpin's a great villain, but he's not. He doesn't have an emotional attachment, or I just think they're going to have trouble going ahead with that, but that's okay. That's the future. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. And if something's not as good as this, that's okay, because this is really great. I guess I'll start spilling over to the issues. I like Malcolm a lot.
Yeah.
I don't like their neighbor, Robin. She's a little... She reminds me of the later seasons of Dexter at times, where there would be like odd characters woven into the seasonal tapestry. But then, like, she becomes not important later in the end, but she becomes like not a nuisance. Like when she gets into the Kilgrave, like everyone gets involved with the Kilgrave stuff, and that's what I really liked about the show. Sometimes they'll have ancillary characters where like, oh, they're fun, they don't matter, but no, everyone. Luke Cage gets wrapped up in it at some points, and that's really exciting to me. But yeah, that character I thought was very odd, and her twin brother. I guess that was that like an incestual relationship? Was that ever like straight up declared, or
it was just weird? Not declared, but heavily insinuated, like very heavily.
Yeah, that was odd. I'm still not entirely sure what to do with that information. But her brother, he didn't have as much screen time as her, so I guess I didn't find him as bothersome, but neither of them deserved to die. So when he died, I was like, oh, that guy was just trying to be nice. That sucked. Another reason why Kilgrave needed to die, because he killed the incestuous brother, I guess.
Yes. And well, he had a crush on Jessica, so he had to go.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, everyone Jessica is affiliated with romantically. He's dead. Luke Cage is gone by the end of the season. Oh, and I really like that Rosario Dawson crossed over.
That was nice.
Yeah, I like that character a lot too. She always gets... I love that she, like, her trope is that she gets wrapped up helping superheroes. She's like, oh my God, like, again. And I don't know if I'd consider this a spoiler, but they made the announcement on multiple social media websites, so I'm going to say no, that Rosario Dawson will also be in the Luke Cage show. So I guess she's just going to be in every Marvel show, and that is not a complaint, because Rosario Dawson is the best. So yay people.
And she was kind of the one little in for Daredevil, you know, because we didn't really get any shade of crossover between the two of them, besides her like saying, well, yeah, I got a friend and he's got problems.
And I really love that too. Yeah, because this is Jessica Jones' first season. And the later seasons, I'd like for Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones to all start kind of hopping over. Luke Cage, I'm okay with him being like a main star in the first season of Jessica Jones too, because this is going to be an in the comics thing, so it's maybe not enough of a reason to. But the characters have a very deep personal relationship. They end up getting married. They have a baby. They have a family get together by this point in comics. So I think that'd be interesting to see play out at some point.
Yeah.
And so I'm okay with them sharing screen time and spilling over into each other's stories. So I'd like it if she went over to the Luke Cage show for an episode or two also, along with Rosario Dawson.
Yes.
Yeah, just stuff like that. I really like that. And I can't believe we haven't really brought it up, but Kristen Ritter is amazing.
Yeah.
Really amazing in this show. Like, Emmy-worthy. Like, Matt Murdock, I thought, was played very well. Jessica Jones, equally so, if not more so. I'm really going to struggle to see if or really struggle to watch if the Emmys don't start handing out nominations to these folks, because how do you not? They're so good.
And you think about the earliest episodes of the first season, where the stuff with Kilgrave is all kind of going on in Jessica's head, and so she's going about her day. As Jessica goes about her day, which is like kind of hating the world, but then all of a sudden something will kind of cue the memory of him, and it will be like he's right there in the room, and she's shaking and she's convulsing and crying, and she's repeating the street names from her childhood. It's like she has to snap into it just like that, and for her to be able to actually accomplish that as an actress, I think is really impressive. Because, you'd see her and it's just like around every corner. She had no idea what to expect, who could be there. So she was playing a character that's so on edge, and just at the turn of a dime, everything could be different. So yeah, props to Kristen for taking this on.
Oh yeah. I guess just a couple more points so we can wrap up here. Also, the first official sex scenes in Marvel live action history. I guess if we're gonna count all live action in Marvel, Howard the Duck doesn't count. Also, that's just weird. This is true, by the way. So sorry for bringing that up, everyone. But yeah, I thought those were tastefully handled as well. And on the flip side of that, the rape stuff, you know what they're talking about before they talk about, and they don't ever show more than they have to. And I greatly admire that, because we have criticized
Game of Thrones.
Yes, exactly. That's the first thing I thought of. Like, this might be the first year where, to get off like on a little tangent, the first year where Game of Thrones doesn't break my top 10 shows of the year. That's not the only reason. I think this season was a little messier handled, but it was just something I thought about. But more positive side, Jessica Jones. Yeah, really, really well handled in that regard. And I guess now just a little tidbit, IGF, the group, I believe the name is. Yeah, they there's a theory going around that it's going to sort of tie in with Inhuman stuff that's going to bleed over into all the Marvel properties in live action. So the group is going to be called the Inhuman Growth Formula or something like that. But I don't know if that's what the deal is, because I don't know if they want to make every superpowered person an Inhuman. Because I kind of like it. It's just like, oh, how'd you get your superpowers? So some douchebag spilled chemicals on my eyes. Now I can fight like a ninja. Oh, how'd you get your powers? Yeah, my family died in a car crash, and I got chemicals spilled on me because of some douchebag. I kind of like that. That accidental tragedy.
Yeah, and everybody gets their own unique origin story instead of like, this is the thing that made all the things, because it kind of takes the thrill out of that part of the storytelling. So.
Yeah, it makes the world feel a lot bigger too, which is what Marvel has accomplished so well with all this stuff.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that's what we're looking forward to next season. What is IGF, and can they make Will Simpson a decent character? Just
we'll find out.
We'll find out. Yeah, that's the big cliffhanger for me, because some people I think thought this deflated as much as Daredevil in the last few minutes. I really, really disagree, because I really liked that last episode. But I also like how it just ends with Jessica Jones finally getting back to her I guess, her version of normal life and helping others with people with phones going off the hook, and Malcolm deciding to settle in as a permanent resident at Alias Investigations. And I really like that. I guess that's the one thing I want to see more of in season 2, along with I guess Nuke is the character's name. There you go. Nuke is Will Simpson's character from the comics, and he's has an American flag tattooed in his face. Ridiculous. I can't wait to see if they go that way. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, I guess I want to see her take on more standalone investigations that tie into the overall narrative. Because we got like that one episode with the husband and wife who want to kill superpowered people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay for this season because everything was so Kilgrave centric as it needed to be. It needed to be that. So, just next season, if they go on a more broader mystery, I would like to see more stuff like that.
Yeah. Like, I definitely wouldn't mind it if they had maybe like, at least 2 or 3 kind of mystery arcs tied in with the Alias stuff. Because, I mean, that provides the perfect kind of like serialized format for them to like, explore the mysteries that Jessica gets to solve and stuff. Without making it just another procedural crime drama, of course. I think that they've already set the precedent that they're not going to have to do that with the show, but I think they could work those elements in for sure.
Yeah. Shows like, I want it to be more like Justified in the sense where like standalone episodes have individual villains or so, and then the events that take place inform a seasonal arc, mystery, or thematic related character character stuff or otherwise. But until season 2 of Jessica Jones, I will be fixing myself some Jessica Jones themed alcohol drinks. And you can watch us on TV Hangouts as we wait for that, and Luke Cage and Daredevil and all that good stuff. Emily, where can people find you?
You could find me on YouTube at Mighty Sophia. That's EM, the word mighty, SOFIA, which is also my Facebook, which is also my Twitter. That's kind of the trifecta of my internet stuff right now.
Yes, and you can find me on Twitter at Daka Waffles, The Waffle Press on YouTube. Like, subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Also on Facebook, The Waffle Press, Twitter, Tumblr. We're going to start using that more up again. And next week is Star Wars. So we have a bunch of Star Wars reviews coming out. Emily might be on one. No, Emily is on one. And it's a lot of fun. So that'll be it for us here on the Waffle Press podcast this week. Next week, we're back with our mid-season finale reviews of everything we're watching. Thanks for watching, guys. We have been professionally unprofessional.